Loud screams outside home disturb resident. Year 1998 season. Summer month, July. State, Indiana. County, Clark County. Location details: Jeffersonville, in 47,130 USA. Clark County. Highway 62. Charlestown Island, the close-set town. Nearest town, Charlestown. Nearest road, HWY 62. Observed. It was last summer, July 1998. I was sleeping when I heard a loud screaming sound. I got up to see what it was. I went to my back door and looked out the back door, and I didn't see anything. But I kept hearing this loud scream. So I turned on the light and it stopped. I looked around and didn't see anything. So I went back to bed. Then a few months later I was watching Sightings and they played a soundtrack of a Bigfoot. I almost fell out of my chair. It was the same scream I had heard in July. I have moved from that house and live closer to the river, Ohio River. But every time I hear that scream, it sends chills up and down my back. Thanks. Environment, trees. It is a wet area with creek, a dried up pond. It is close to the old ammunition plant in Jeffersonville that runs from Jeffersonville to Charlestown, Indiana. There are some not often used train tracks close also.
Occurred the 21st of August 1999, 21 hours 40 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location: Charlestown, in USA. Shape, circle. Duration: 20 seconds. Know of observers: one seemed to be a satellite, but for 3 to 5 seconds it brightened to near the brightness of Jupiter. I have been watching the skies for meteors many clear nights this summer. I have observed many high-flying jets traveling to Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis, and who knows where else. I have also seen, at numerous times, what appear to be satellites moving in the sky from south to north and southwest to northeast. I use a good pair of binoculars and have seen no running lights or heard any muffled roars when these satellites pass over. Last night I saw a movement near or just slightly northeast of straight up. In the first 2 to 3 seconds of viewing, I thought I was looking at another satellite. Then about 3 seconds into view, the object brightened almost instantly to the apparent brightness of Jupiter, and it was seen as about the same size of Jupiter. Approximately 3 seconds after it brightened, it started dimming again. The object was traveling from the northeast to the south. The half moon was behind some trees to my south as I was laying. There was a row of trees blocking the moon. By the time I found the object in my binoculars, maybe 5 more seconds, it had dimmed, and then it looked exactly like a dimmed satellite in motion and brightness. It disappeared from view behind the row of trees in the vicinity of the moon. There was no trail visible, and the object never veered from its course. If I had to guess what I saw, I would say I saw a satellite with the ability to instantly turn on a light source. Other than that, it looked like the pinpoint of light you see from passing satellites. I live at 20 miles northeast of Louisville International Airport and am used to seeing various running lights on all types of planes. This was not an aircraft, unless, of course, it was one trying to look like a satellite. I am a 52-year-old retired male who has spent most of my life looking at the sky occasionally. This is the first time I have ever reported anything like this to any organization.
Occurred the 3rd of March 2004, 3 hours 30 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location: Charlestown, in USA. Shape, unknown. Duration: greater than 90 minutes. Know of observers: one. Characteristics: lights on object, emitted other objects, animals reacted. Large brilliant light from craft over Charlestown, in. On the aforementioned date and time, I took my dog outside, Nab, in, and started my car to let it warm up when I noticed what I thought was a commercial airplane with its landing lights on over Charlestown, in. I could not make out the shape of the craft, but noticed it had no blinking lights or the usual red-green lights, just a brilliant white light. Around 30 minutes later, I went out after the dog so I could leave for drill and the Naval Reserve Station in Louisville, as I had deleted duty as a deleted, and noticed the light still there and knew it wasn't a conventional aircraft, and thought to myself with some doubt that maybe it was Venus or some type of star. For the next 10 minutes, I drove out of view of the craft until reaching Market Street in Charlestown. Once I passed the hospital, I saw that the high school football field on my left about 3 blocks up was totally lit up and the craft was gone, which was very odd at that time of year and 0345, and I pondered what in the world could be going on there. About 1 minute later and much closer to the field, I suddenly saw. I will do my best to describe it. All the light in the stadium started dimming like it was being sucked in by a vacuum, until it all went into a white brilliant ball of light in the center of the field, and then shot upwards with great speed. The ball looked almost exactly like the craft over the Temple Mount, and I was flabbergasted and proclaimed, "All righty then." I saw no vehicles on the streets at all, but surely someone, especially the police, had to see the massive light over the stadium. I mean, the odds would be impossible. Someone me that you seriously saw this stuff, please.
Occurred, the 24th of June 2007, 22 hours 30 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location, Charlestown, IN, USA. Shape, triangle. Duration, 3 to 5 minutes. No of observers. 3 characteristics. Lights on object. 3 lights in a triangular shape, gliding through the sky. We were sitting around the campfire stargazing when we saw 3 bright but small lights in a triangular formation traveling at a pretty good speed through the sky. There was no sound. The lights did change direction a little but stayed in the same formation.
Occurred, the 23rd of June 2016, 20 hours 30 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location, Charlestown, IN, USA. Shape, rectangle. Duration, 30 seconds. No of observers. 2 characteristics. Aircraft nearby. Middle of summer. Standing on my deck hearing low-flying helicopters coming fast toward me. Looked up towards sound and saw this UFO. The craft was almost invisible, but I could make out its shape and all 4 helicopters total black and no lights flying with or chasing it. Days later got up my nerve to talk about this with my neighbor, and he told me he had seen the same thing and was afraid to tell anyone. Almost 2 years later, here I am telling the story. Occurred, the 2nd of June 1983, 22 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Local location, Jeffersonville, IN, USA. Shape, oval. Duration, 10 minutes. No of observers. 2 characteristics. Lights on object. 2 UFO sighting in 2 weeks in the summer of 1983, Louisville, Kentucky. In June of 1983, my cousin and I, aged 10 and 13, had just enjoyed the festivities of Steamboat Days and had a generous curfew of 10 p.m. As we made our way to my aunt's house, my cousin and I stopped at the old railroad bridge that had LRS 102 radio stations lights on it as it still does today, but not working, when my cousin said, "What's that?" I asked him what he was talking about, and he pointed to an object that was directly over the Louisville, Kentucky, skyline. He proclaimed it's a UFO. I laughed and said it's an airplane, and we watched it as it approached our location on the Jeffersonville riverbank, and it soon was clear that it wasn't an airplane at all. I became frightened and my cousin just yelled out, "Beam me up, Scotty," in which I replied to him to shut up. The object was oval-shaped with multicolored lights making 2 rotations to the left then 2 rotations to the right. It was completely silent and became more frightened. Then the craft came down and hovered about 20 feet above the bridge silently with no disturbance to the water below. We watched in awe and fear as it just hovered for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, then it slowly ascended, and once it reached an altitude of about 3,000 feet it zoomed off into the night sky and left us panicked, and we went home excitedly telling my aunt the story, who obviously didn't believe us at all. The next day I went home to Louisville, where I told my older brother what happened. Of course he laughed at me and ridiculed me. Well, later that day we had been watching television when a commercial for the local news came on. The reporter Jim Mitchell of WHAS 11 said, "Tonight at 11 at Clarksville, in man has video of a UFO." My brother looked at me with eyes and mouth agape, and I proclaimed, "I told you so. Now do you believe me?" We asked my dad if we could please stay up to watch the news, that it was important. My dad thought it was odd that we would care about the news program, but okay, but you're going to bed right after. So my brother and I waited nervously all evening long until the news came on. We watched the whole program and it never mentioned it once. 2 weeks later at around 8:30 p.m, my dad said, "We need to go to Kmart to get your little brother some diapers before they close." So it was my dad, stepmom and 2 siblings in the front, and I sat in the bed of the truck wearing shorts and flip-flops and no shirt. My dad, who was an alcoholic, was drunk and drinking and driving along Popular Level Road, blasting 3 Dog Night on the 8-track. About 2 blocks from the Kmart we stopped a red light on Popular Level where I could see the Kmart sign all lit up. I noticed something strange. There was a warm breeze raining down on me, and I looked at my arms and the hair was standing up on them and my neck, so I looked up and there was a massive craft like the one I'd seen 2 weeks earlier, but much larger, like a mothership, and I could see intricate piping, mostly squared in shape, and I nearly broke my neck looking from one end to another. It was as large as a football field and I began to feel sick to my stomach. I began beating on the sliding glass window of the pickup truck yelling, "Dad, Dad," but got no response. He was too drunk and the horrible 70s music had drowned out my screams, and I looked up again and it was gone. Now surely there was multiple people that saw this thing. I mean, we were not alone at the stoplight, and I'm sure someone saw me looking upwards.